Uh, so from today onwards, actually, I'll be starting the actual classes, guys. Right? I think from last 3 sessions, uh, I mean, like the last 3 sessions, the 3 sessions are all about overview of the course content and what we are going to cover, and along with the various demos from the network and application, point of view. Correct. So from today onwards, we'll actually start with the course content, right? I'll quickly share my screen, and you know um, let's quickly go and review the course content. I think hope you already received it from the Harsha Institute, right? Um, then after that, we can start with the theory part, and let's settle down. I mean to say, when I say settle down, I'll help you to set up the lab and make you understand the basics better. Okay, it could be networking basics, or it could be the Linux basic. From there onwards, we'll start with the attacks related to the network. We'll explore all the uh, you know network related attacks by applying the penetration testing methodology. We'll do that from the information gathering to exploitation, and similarly we will apply the same thing to the for the web application. Okay, we'll be completing all the web application related attacks also, right? But okay, before that, I just wanted to maybe uh, if someone required, okay, I can just quickly recap what we have covered today. If someone has any questions, right? Yesterday, I have shown you the DOS attack, right? Of course, due to the network issue, we were not able to complete it in a detailed way. But yeah, I was able to generate some sort of a traffic using the HPing 3 towards the Windows 7, and we have seen that the spikes are coming in the network, correct? Anyone has any questions, guys, related to that DOS attack, or can I start with the today's session? Yeah, guys, I want to hear from you. Did you get the topic, like how the denial of a service attack works?
Hi, Sai.
Yeah, hi.
This DOS was actually it was not very clear. Probably you can just spend a
Yeah,
little 10-15 minute on that topic again because we did not understand it completely, and I think it would be just a good idea to just have a quick overview of that.
sure.
And
I'll do
if
that. Yeah,
and if that will be covered in the upcoming topics, then probably we can just skip that because it was just a demo day, I think.
yeah, it's just a demo. Even though it is covered in the upcoming sessions, right? Let me also show you quickly, one more time by
Mm.
not spending much time. I'll just quickly show you that example again, right?
Yeah, thanks.
So yeah, so I want you guys to interact and let me know so that I will also understand, right, like where you guys are actually, what exactly you guys are looking for, so accordingly we can plan it. Fine. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Yeah, hope you guys can able to see my screen, right?
Yes, I.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so as I said, DOS stands for denial of a service attack, right? Denying service to the legitimate users, so that they'll be not able to access the system resources, right? So how the attackers will be doing is they will be flooding the victim system with the non-legitimate service request or traffic to overload it resources. Correct. I think I have given the example of this meeting yesterday, right? So we have this go-to meeting. It'll have certain limit. It'll only allow the maybe X number of participants in this participants in this session, right? If that exceeds, if any new participant is trying to join in this meeting, for them it says that you cannot join because already the meeting is full. Right? It is like denial of a service attack only. For other people who are trying to join in this meeting after that limit exceeds, they'll be able to not join it. Right. By taking the advantage of such kind of a scenarios, attackers will only join with the various accounts to full this meeting. Right. Similarly, here you can see now we have some of the servers networks over here. So what attacker is doing is he's sending the more number of traffic towards the network, right? It's all malicious bandwidth towards the target network, where they don't have the bandwidth to handle all this malicious traffic. And in the same time, if anyone is trying to access it, they'll be not able to access it, right? Because whatever the available bandwidth is there, it is already consumed by the attacker himself, right? Similarly, we have the DDoS attack, okay, which is distributed denial of a service attack. Okay, so here what attacker will be doing is he'll be using multiple compromised systems, okay, to send the traffic to one specific target. Because one to one, you cannot generate much traffic. Okay, you cannot overwhelm the system resources, right? So to perform this attack, attacker will use something called as a zombie network. Okay, here so what they do is they infect and they compromise a lot of systems into the internet, and those will be under the attacker control. So what attacker will be doing is he'll be just giving the instructions to all of the systems, telling that, hey, send the traffic to a specific target, where he wanted to attack. Correct. So all the systems are, let's say, thousands of systems are sending the traffic to one target. Of course, definitely they are going to consume the available resources. It could be network, as I said, application, or maybe uh, what CPU, right? So once it is done, okay, uh, people will be not able to access it. They will be not able to do any kind of a business with them, and it always says that server error message, right? So the same works in the real time as well, right? So when we are developing any sort of network or an application, so we have to make sure that we have this security to protect against such type of a denial of a service attacks. If not, because this is there is no availability, right? I mean, this attack is mainly focusing on the availability part, right? So all the users who are authorized to access, and whenever they wanted to access, they should have the access. If they are not having an access, which means there is no availability, right? I think you will understand that. Availability, confidentiality, integrity, these three things are very, very important when it comes to providing or into the information security. So denial of a service is mainly focusing on checking whether the availability is there or not. Right? I'll show you this example practically one more time quickly on the my virtual environment. So for that, let's use Windows 10 and the Linux operating system. And I'm using these two different operating systems over here to show you the a quick example. Okay. Right. So which tool we have used it to generate the traffic towards the target yesterday? Anyone remembered it or noted down somewhere? Yeah, guys. Which tool we have used yesterday to generate the traffic towards the target server? Are you guys not taking the notes? Okay, HPing3, Kumar. Good. Right, so we have used a tool called HPing3 to generate the traffic. As I said, this is a firewall, testing. Okay, it's a firewall testing tool, right? So what we'll do is every tool will have manual report. Okay, whenever you heard any new tool, right, in the Linux operating system, every tool has something called as a manual report, okay, which has all the description about the tool and also different types of options which are available, like how do we use it with examples, right? To read that manual report, you can just type something called as a man and then the tool name, the tool which we need to learn, let's say about the HPing3. So you can give man and HPing3, it will give you the manual report of the HPing3. Okay, so you can see HPing3 is a network tool able to send the custom TCP/IP packets and display the target replace like a ping program does. Okay, so with the HPing3, we can handle the fragmentation, arbitrary a packet's body and size can be used in order to transfer the files encapsulated under the supported protocol. So you can actually modify the packet headers, okay, using this tool. So these tools can be used for performing the firewall rules testing, advanced port scanning, information gathering. Also, we can use it. Okay, a lot of options are there, right? And here is different options and what is the description about it. Okay, yesterday we have used I think faster or flood to generate the more traffic towards the target, right? Fast, I think it's going to send the 10 packets per second. Faster, it's going to send 100 packets per second. It's a faster than fast. Flood, so it sends as fast as possible without taking care of incoming replays which are coming from the target system. You can also define the interval. Someone has asked me yesterday, Sai, do we have an option to send the traffic after a specific time? Yes, this is an option for that. You can define the intervals over here, right? It's a very big tool having a lot of options there, right? You can choose which protocol you wanted to use and what kind of header information that you wanted to modify. Let's say even you can also perform this attack by spoofing someone else's IP address as well, right? They will think that okay, the attack is happening with a different IP address, right? So those kind of attacks, you know, will be able to do it. So you can just give Q to quit from the manual report. I think our Windows is up and running. So what I'll do is I'll use the system uh, IP address as a target to show this demo. So let me open the command prompt. To run this Windows 7 inside the virtual machine, right? We should have a very good RAM. I think I've given around 3 to 4 GB for it. Okay, this is my IP address of the target, which is 192.168.22.253. It's my internal IP address, right? And then here I am going to use HPing 3, okay, HPing 3, and I am planning to send the ICMP packets, okay, which is Internet Control Messaging Protocol, which we use it for troubleshooting purpose, okay, to see whether the packets have been delivered or not, okay. So we'll learn about it, but yeah, I'm sending these ICMP packets to whom? To this particular IP, which is 22.253. You can write it 192.168.22.253. Okay. So now here you can also define the count of the packets. Okay, how many packets you want to send it to the targets. Okay. So let's say I'm sending 100 packets. For that, I'm using something called as a hyphen hyphen fast. So when you use fast, it's going to send the 10 packets per second. So 10 into 10. So within a 10 seconds, it's going to send the 100 packets to the target. Okay. So while I'm sending this traffic to the target, let's go and observe. Okay. Let's go and observe the performance of the system. Right. That is important, right? So if you can able to maybe send more traffic to consume the CPU resources, the system will get hung. Correct, right? Or let's say if you're consuming the whole network, okay, whatever the bandwidth that they have, apart from that or more than that, if you can able to send it, they'll be not able to access the internet. Then it becomes a denial of a service attack only. Correct. Okay, let's do this, right? Uh, I'm sending this traffic. You can see it's going. It's already showing 100% utilization. This is a CPU performance. Now let's look into the network performance. I think there are some spikes, but of course 10 packets per second, I think it's going to handle it. I don't think so. It'll be a big issue, right? Let me use something called as a flood without defining the number of packets. Okay, without defining the number of packets, so that it's going to send as many as packets to the target. Okay, so you can see now, right now, I think it's somewhere around in KBs, 800 KB. Okay, enter. Control C to stop this. You can see within this 5 to 6 seconds, it sent almost 136 packets. And when you look into the graph, right? I think it's okay. Let's split the screen and observe it. Okay, let's split the screen. It's hope 253 only. Okay, 253, 192.168.22.253. Okay, that's fine. Let's do flood. Okay, you can see here the spike is still up. 20 Mbps it is receiving. You can see 15 Mbps it is receiving. So if I cancel it, you can see it will become a zero, or maybe in KBs, right? This particular bump, right? Okay, is because of the traffic which I triggered towards the target system, right? I mean, it is one system to one system. Let's assume the same thing is happening with hundreds of systems to one system. Then it becomes a denial of a service attack. Clear? It will stop responding to it. Right? You can see now it's in KBs. As soon as I hit the traffic, it goes in MBs. You can see 6 MB, 17 MB, 19 MB, right? So both systems are in the same network. Both have the same bandwidth only. But if any different system with the different interface with the good bandwidth is sending the traffic, definitely the the spikes goes up and up and up and up. It consumes all that bandwidth, available bandwidth, right? Hope this is clear to you. If someone has any questions, yeah, you can ask me, guys. Of course, again, this is again a part of the demo only, right? We will learn about this particular module in a very detailed way in the actual sessions. Yeah, guys, I hope this is clear to you, right? Uh, if you have any questions, you can ask me, or else we'll just start with the session. Yeah. So let me quickly take you to the course structure, right? Some of you maybe join late or maybe missed it, right? So here we are first focusing on the prerequisites part, where I'll be giving you all the basic knowledge which is required to get started into the security. Even if he's fresher, not uh, you know uh, having enough knowledge towards this information security. For them, we'll be starting from the scratch, where I'll be covering all the prerequisites. Then we'll learn this penetration testing methodology. This is very very important because once you learn about the tools techniques, we have to use them in a systematical way to perform this penetration testing uh, on the target to deliver the identified issues. uh, okay, so this is penetration testing, and we'll also discuss about the different types of penetration testing, like white box, gray box, and black box, which one to choose when, and what happens in each different types of a testing. And then the same thing can be applied on the network and then application, right? So major part over here is we'll be covering the network vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, and uh, okay, application, web application vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So in network, we will learn how to do it manually. Then of course we use the automated or corporate tools like Nessus and Qualys for vulnerability assessment. And for penetration testing, we use the Metasploit. Okay, so here when it comes to web application penetration testing, we'll be first starting with the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. We use the tools like Burp Suite for performing the manual testing and to conduct the data scans. And also, I'll show you, how do we perform the scans on the source code to identify the vulnerabilities using the available open source tools. And we also do the SCA, like white box testing overview. Also, I'll be giving you the testing guide, checklist which we use it to perform various attacks, tools we use it. Okay, all of these things. So maybe I can just show you a quick checklist kind of a thing which we use it. Right, the checklist will look like this. Uh, right. So this is the OWASP web application, security testing guide. So what are the different types of test cases? We do it on the information gathering part. How do we gather the information? What is the objective of each and every test case? What tools we use it? Okay, what is the associated common weakness enumeration for it? Is it tested or not? Right. So for every category that we are going to cover, we have the test cases. Right. How do we test the configuration and deployment management, identity management, authentication testing, authorization, session management, okay, data validation, error handling, cryptography, business logic testing, client side testing, right? Even basics of API. Okay, yeah, this is just a high level. Okay, uh, once we start, you will understand it everything one by one. Yep. So I think what is vulnerability assessment, what is penetration testing, you already attended the. You hope you got the clear understanding of it, right? What we do in the vulnerability assessment is we identify the various potential vulnerabilities in the system or a network or an application, and we highlight these vulnerabilities to the system owner or the patch management team so that they can patch these vulnerabilities before someone exploits it. Okay, we are helping the organization to take the proactive approach towards the identifying and remediating the issues before someone exploits it. And penetration testing, what we do, we will go one step ahead. Whatever the vulnerabilities that are identified over here, we will actually simulate the attack like a real hacker to see whether those vulnerabilities can be actually exploited or not, because not all the vulnerabilities which are identified can be exploited due to various factors and reasons. Correct. If something is exploited, that is considered as a high risk, and we have to immediately take the action on it. Correct. So yeah. So for this, to learn this VAPT, right? This is the kind of a lab, setup that is required. Maybe once all the enrollments are done, I'll help you to set up this lab, uh, lab in your local system, like how I have done in my system. So at least you know we'll play with the couple of machines. Okay, at least like Linux is mandatory anyway. That is something which we are using it for an attacker system. Similarly, we will install the various different types of a target operating systems to learn and get the hands-on experience about how do we use the tools and techniques, about different attacks. Right? We'll do it this setup once the you know uh, once all the enrollments are done, right? Or even you guys can also do it. I think I have given the high level understanding of it, right? On top of the our operating system, you just need to install this virtual box manager, and then inside that you need to install the various operating systems. Okay, for this also we have the document or the slides which will be given to you at once we start it, right? So we'll start with the prerequisites, guys. This is the first part, okay, from our table of content or course structure, right? We'll start with the prerequisites. So anyway, we are aware of what is vulnerability assessment, what is penetration testing, difference between them, and the key benefits of vulnerability assessment and pen testing. Now let's start with the information security, right? So information security, cyber security, these two terms are majorly used interchangeably. Okay, when you say cyber security, it's like protecting all the devices and the data programs from the various attacks. Okay, uh, or like external threats. Okay, but when it comes to information security, of course, it's all about focusing on the securing the information. Okay, so when I say focusing on the securing the information, so information is very critical for every organization. Correct. So that information will be in three different stages. Correct. Suppose if the information is stored somewhere in the database, that is called as rest, right? The information is in rest. And when someone is accessing the same information using, let's say, some sort of a communication a medium, okay, connecting with, let's say, FTP or SSH, or maybe through an application, that will get transmitted through the network, right? So one is in rest, second one is in transmit, and once you start using it, of course that will get stored into your process memory. Okay, that is in your RAM, right? There also it should store properly. Correct. So we know that the information is basically in three different stages. So we need to implement the security best practices to protect this information, which is in these three different stages, which is stored, process, and transmit, from the unauthorized access and uh, disclosure, disruption, and modification and destruction of the data, basically from the hacks or attacks. Okay, for that we have the three major, I can say, uh, key important elements in the security. Okay, we call that as a CIA Triad, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Just now I've shown you that DOS example, right? Denial of a service attack. When someone is doing the denial of a service attack, their motive is to make the things not available to the legitimate users. Correct. So that here we have, you can see availability, right? So this is a perfect example for the availability. Now let's learn about these three important elements, right? One is confidentiality. Okay, we need to ensure that the information, okay, which is in three different stages, or maybe which is available, right, only accessible to the authorized people. Okay, if someone is trying to access that information, there is no confidentiality. When I say someone, maybe an unauthorized person. Got it. Ensuring that the sensitive information is only accessed by the authorized people. Okay, like only a bank employee should be able to see your bank account details. Correct. Let's say you have your own account in so and so branch. You have your own transactions and you have all the stuff in your bank, like so and so amount, your personal details, and etc. etc. Correct. If that information is accessible, I mean, your personal details are accessible to someone else. Okay, let's say I'm also user in the same branch. If I can able to access your bank balance, or if I can able to see your profile information, okay, there is no confidentiality. Correct. So we have to make sure that we will implement the best practices to provide the confidentiality for the data, and also integrity. The second one is no one should, I mean, unauthorizedly modify the data. Okay, there should not be any kind of a alteration or unauthorized changes in the data. That is what integrity means, right? Let's say I'm sending some information to you from my system to, uh, you know, uh, you're sitting in the some other corner of the world. So what happens? That particular information will be transmitted. Correct. That particular information will be transmitted through network. So network is, we don't know what sort of attacks could be possible on the network. It is considered as a insecure network communication channel. So if someone is modifying like this, okay, if someone is, let's say I am sending something called as a message, okay, saying that you are hired. Okay, I'm sending a message called as a you are hired message through internet. Okay, in internet, what hackers have done is they have captured your information, which you are transmitting. They have modified this. Okay, they have modified this from you are hired to you are fired. So here the recipient is going to get the altered message, right? If this is the case, there is no integrity. Correct. Integrity ensures that whatever the data which is stored or transmitted in use, okay, should not be modified by the unauthorized parties, and there should not be any sort of a third party involvement in the communication. Okay, we use different methodologies like hashing, encryption, digital signatures to verify the message integrity, file integrity and etc. And the last one is availability. Whatever the resources which are available, that should be accessible to the authorized people whenever they wanted to access it. Suppose your bank, okay, whenever you want to access your cash or amount, they should provide you, right? Just because the server is down, or sometimes it happens, right? If you visit the bank, what happens? They say the server is down due to some reason. That is a denial of a service attack only. They are not providing you the service to you. Correct. I think I not properly connected this example. Uh, let's say due to a cyber attack, the banking application went down, and when you go and try to perform some kind of a transaction, that is, you cannot able to do it because of the availability issue, right? Yeah. Hope these three, uh, you know, information security elements are clear to you. Okay. We can also call this as a CIA Triad, information security triangle. Okay. Um, yeah, Triad. A lot of names to it. Clear? Yeah. If you are clear with it, I think we'll move to the fundamental terminologies. Right. I'll make you understand about the various terminologies, guys. Some of you might be new to it, right? So for them, let me start with the very very basics. Okay. Let's first understand with a term called as a asset, right? So what is the asset? Asset could be anything, okay, which has some kind of a worth in it. Okay, it could be data, device, or the other component of the environment that supports the information related activities. Even an employee is also one of the asset to an organization. Okay, databases, servers, networks, and etc. All these are considered as a assets for an organization, right? And then threat. What is mean by threat? Threat is a potential cause of an unwanted incident which malwares like viruses, phishing attack, even natural disaster, also one of the threat. Let's say you have hosted all your um, assets in one database which is close to the um, you know maybe what we call, I'm not getting the right word, prone to some sort of a natural you know disaster related area, because of which, let's say, the entire database got damaged. Through the hello.
So, Sai, when you started with the thread, we have missed the entire this thing. So your voice wasn't audible actually.
Okay, okay, got it. Hope you guys can able to hear me now properly.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, I can take these questions later if you have anything. Right. Okay, so let me quickly explain again. Right. I think asset, you guys are clear, right? Asset is like a data device or server network. Okay, anything which has some kind of a worth in it. And vulnerability is a weakness. Okay, maybe an unpatched operating system or a software or a weakness or poor administration. Because of you have a weak passwords. All these are like vulnerabilities, right? So if any asset, let's say, has some kind of a vulnerability, then a potential cause of an unwanted incident is possible. Okay, there is a possible that someone can potentially damage by exploiting that vulnerability, right? So what is mean by threat? Threat is what? Potential cause of an unwanted incident. So maybe let's say someone sends an malware, okay, with a phishing email. Of course, that is a kind of a threat, right? Or maybe you are hosting your entire data service which is prone to some sort of a natural disasters. That is also one sort of a threat, right? Which can potentially harm, okay, your entire data center, right? So simply you can remember that when I say threat, okay, potential cause of an unwanted incident or a potential harm, okay, which could be possible due to maybe a unpatched softwares or weaknesses, okay, etc. Okay, so vulnerability is basically a loophole, or I can say entry point for an attacker. The vulnerability could be anywhere, guys. Okay, the vulnerability could be anywhere in the system, like it could be in network, application, operating system, or in the kernel, or in the hardware, or due to a misconfiguration or poor deployment, right? The vulnerability could be we have different classifications of vulnerability. So basically, when I say vulnerability, it's a weakness. It's an entry point for attacker, right? Clear? Yeah, guys. I want to maybe take the confirmation from you guys. Is it clear? Okay. Cool. Yeah, I can see your messages. Thanks. Right. Then we have exploit. Okay. So when you have a vulnerability, there'll be an exploit also for it, right? So last time I have shown you an example of an SQL injection, correct, on a web application, where I have given an SQL injection payload like single code R1 equal to 1. That is an exploit code which I have used to break into the application authentication related to the SQL injection, right? So when you say exploit, it's a piece of software or a command or a methodology that attackers use it to take the advantage of the vulnerability, right? So when you have, let's say, no password policy, you, you know, users would have created the weak passwords without having combinations of uh, small, capital, special character, or a number. If that is the case, there is a possibility someone can brute force it. Right? There is a possibility someone can brute force it. So there they are using a methodology to exploit the vulnerability. Right? Sometimes it will be straightforward. You will have certain vulnerability and you will have the piece of code for that vulnerability, which you can run it against the target. I think in the demo session 2, I have shown you exploitation of one vulnerability. I think it's a bad blue, where I have used a piece of code from the Metasploit to run against the target, which has given me a complete access to the system. Right, there was a vulnerability. We use an exploit code to, get into the uh, system. So here, exploit is something which helped us to enter into the system by taking the advantage of the vulnerability. Correct. So you will, so if you go to exploit-db.com, you will be able to see all the publicly available exploits also. Okay, maybe I can show you, where do we see some of the exploits, how the scripts will look like, right? You can see there are some of the exploits related to web application. Platform is PHP, JSP, and this is something which you can use it for multiple things, right? There is you can say, denial of a service attack on, okay, you got all the denial of a service related scripts for various products. Okay, you can see this is related to XAMPP server. So if I open it, you will have this script. This is an exploit. So if I run this exploit against this XAMPP server 3.3.0, okay, because of buffer overflow vulnerability, I think the server is going to crash, or the XAMPP is basically a server, okay, which you can install it. So this is going to crash. It becomes a denial of a service related issue, and that impacts the availability. Right, no one will be able to access the entire server. Right, so that's type of exploits. You will be able to see it in the exploit DB, or maybe in the internet. Right, yeah. And the next thing is a risk. Right, so risk is the potential loss or a damage when the threat exploits a vulnerability. Okay, so like a data breach or financial losses or reputation damage is basically a risk, right? You have an asset which has some sort of a vulnerability, in it, and of course, someone can also exploit it. Okay, someone can also exploit it. That is a threat, and after that, that leads to some sort of a potential loss, right? What they do once they get into it, they can modify something, they can delete something, uh, they can read, access some sort of confidential information, right? So this is possible because of what? Exploiting the vulnerability in an asset. Okay, they were able to create some sort of a potential loss or a damage. Correct. So we can also say that risk is equal to vulnerability into threat, right? Because the potential for loss or damage when a threat exploits a vulnerability, right? We have various types of threats, like an attackers who exploits a vulnerability. Then, of course, they'll be able to access sensitive information. So that is a risk, right? Got it. So you can also remember like this: risk is equal to vulnerability into threat. Okay. Yeah. And we have attack vector. Attack vector is basically a method or a path which is used by attackers to break into the system or penetrate into the system. It could be like network, website, physical, phishing emails, USB sticks. I mean, they are using some sort of a medium or a path, okay, to perform the attack. That is what called as a attack vector. Right. So let's say you're sitting somewhere. Now, if I want to perform the attack, I use the attack vector as a email or network. Right. So that is what the method or a path that I am using it to perform or execute the attack. An incident is an event, I can say, that compromises the integrity, confidentiality, or availability of the information. Right? So we majorly focusing on these three things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. When these things are harmed, okay, so that becomes an event. Right? When these things are compromised, then that becomes an event. Okay. After exploiting a vulnerability, someone can able to maybe access the data. Right? So if you can able to identify that, you will be basically recording that as an incident. Okay. Yeah. Then we have mitigation. Mitigation is a term that we use it to reduce the impact or likelihood of threat exploiting a vulnerability. Let's say we have a vulnerability which is like open entry point for an attacker. So we need to fix it, right? Someone has to fix it. If someone is not fixing it, they will exploit it. So we have to mitigate it. So we have to take the proper measures to reduce the impact or likelihood of threat exploiting a vulnerability, like applying the security patches or implementing the security policies, or deploying the firewalls or network security, or modifying the code to create a secure products. All this comes under the mitigation only, right? After identifying the vulnerability, we work on the mitigation part to reduce the impact of the attack. And every vulnerability will have a unique number called as a CVE number. There are a lot of vulnerability which are coming every day, right? Once it is being verified, every unique vulnerability will have something called as a CVE number, okay, which will look like this. CVE, year when it is identified, and then the unique number, which is like 3, 4, 5 to 7 kind of a thing, right? So this is unique for only the print nightmare vulnerability. So if I copy this and Google it, right, I'll be only able to see these results related to the same vulnerability. Okay, in all these different places, you can see print nightmare, right? Every vulnerability will have what? A unique CVE number, which we can use it to track the vulnerability. Even when you are running the vulnerability scans on the assets, you will have the results. Right, every vulnerability will have a assigned dedicated CVE number to it. Right. So we can track all of the CVEs in the vulnerability databases like CVE details, or NVD National Vulnerability Database, and etc. Right. You can see for that vulnerability there is an exploit also available in the exploit-db.com, that which we have seen. Right. This is a vulnerability. It has a CVE number, and the exploit is also out in the market. So anyone who identifies this vulnerability, they can download and read the exploit, and they can break into the system. But it becomes so easy. Even there are some of the POCs also there. Video POCs also available in the internet, because it is a bit older vulnerability. Got it. And also every vulnerability, right, will have a CVS score, which is called as a common vulnerability scoring system. This is what the base score is now, 8.8 out of 10. We have this CVS score, 8.8. So if you type CVS score, right, we have this CVS score rating. If something, I mean, this indicates the severity of the vulnerability, because when you have hundreds of thousands of vulnerability, how do you make your prioritization, right? So how do you identify, which one has more, risk associated with it, right? We do the prioritization based upon this particular CVS score. If something is in between 9 to 10, it's considered as a critical. 7 to 8.9 is high, 4 to 6.9 is medium, and 1 to 3.9 is low, right? So we need to first focus on the one which has more severity. Correct. Okay, clear? So here you can see. So here we have a CVE number, okay, which will tell you about this vulnerability. And here we have a CVSS score, which will tell you the severity of the vulnerability, right? So this is calculated over here based upon giving all these parameters like confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and the attack vector, how complex it is to perform the attack, whether the user interaction is required or privileges are required or not. Okay, so all this calculation you will be learning it in the vulnerability assessment module, right? So every severity is based upon these three elements majorly, right? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. You can see here. So for this, right, confidentiality is high, integrity is high, and availability is also high. Okay, because of that, the score is also 8.8. And of course, we can calculate this. We can also manually calculate it. By the end of the course, you will be also able to calculate, the CVS score for the vulnerability that you guys have identified. Right. So if you go to first.org, there you have CVS score calculator. So you can give all the details about the vulnerability, like how do you identify it, what sort of a privileges it is required. So you can give all these details over here, right? Like attack vector, we just now seen, right? What is attack vector? The path or the medium that attacker has used to perform the or exploit the vulnerability. So if he's doing the attack using a physical access, you can select it as a physical. If he's doing the attack by connecting to the local network, you can give it as a local. Or if he's using some sort of technologies like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, or if it is adjacent, you can select it as adjacent. Or if it is happening through the network, you can select it as a network. Because after identifying the vulnerability and exploiting it, you must be having all these details with you, right? So you can provide all these details, and the CVS score is automatically generated. Okay, so how complex it is to exploit the vulnerability, you can select it low or high. Okay, let's say while the attack is doing it, do you require any sort of a privileges? Sometimes to exploit some vulnerabilities, you might require low level privileges or high level privileges. Once you log in only, you will be able to find some vulnerabilities, right? So in that case, you can give this. Okay, I'm calculating the CVSS score for the attack which I have exploited in the demo session 2, right? There was a virtual system running some sort of a vulnerability. I've exploited with the network, and that is not very difficult to exploit it, and the privilege is also not required, and user interaction is also not required because the system is running. I have just exploited it, right? Scope is changeable. Okay, changeable because after getting into it, I can do a lot of things in the network. And I had a admin access, okay, in the system after exploiting it, through which I can read any file. So the confidentiality high. I can delete any files. I can modify any files, right? You can see the criticality is 10. Let's say if you keep this privileges is required, let's say low level privileges is required or high level privileges are required, you can see the score is coming down. Or let's say you can only able to access the very um, uh, not all the information, let's say, or you will be not able to bring down the services, or delete anything, right? So when you modify this, the CBC score will get changed and it'll move it, and always that is calculated because with this range. Okay, so yeah, this is all about fundamental terminologies, right? And hope you got it. What is the CVE and CVSS? right? And we have the network basics to cover. And once we install the Linux operating system, we'll explore the Linux basic commands, how to navigate, how to use various tools. I'll make you comfortable working with the Linux operating system. Then after that, we will start with the penetration testing methodology. Okay, once we learn this, we'll apply this methodology to the network and then the application. Okay, so this is what this is how we are going to basically cover the entire course. Okay, I'll stop it here. I'll take your questions, guys, if you have any. Okay, I think Kumar, I have answered your. Uh, I've shown you how that CVS score is calculated. Okay, for your question, right? You can go to first.org. Yeah, yeah. Okay, got it. Right. I'll stop the recording over here. Then, if you have any questions or if you'd like to ask anything, you can ask.